This is the first race in a series of 3 races of the ABD Masters Memorial Criteriums. It's an omnium series with riders accumulating points over the 3 different races. I'm racing the 30 plus 1, 2, 3 category, and this race had some absurd firepower in it. As you can see up in the corner, the race is pretty long. I believe it's just over 2 miles in length, and our race was a total of an hour long. Coming into this long section, we had a pretty decent tailwind until we hit the 180 up ahead. It obviously changes to a headwind here and until we round the next corner. Throughout this race, my goal was to just try and really see if I could hold on. When I did these races last year, I felt woefully unprepared and was usually near the back fourth of the race, really just trying to hold on for dear life as the Fast Masters shredded the field. This year, I felt much more on form and prepared for what I was going to be facing. We're coming into the end of the first lap here, and you can already see that some riders really want to up the pace a little. I just try to stay in the draft, and my teammate Simon throws out an attack. He had told me before the race started that he was going to throw out some bait attacks to see how the field was feeling, and that he really didn't want or expect any of these breaks to stick. We cross the line, the bell is rung for a preem lap, on lap 2, and Simon's group is a little up the road. The Burnham rider in front of me doesn't like this, and so he puts in a pretty big effort to catch up to them. I was content sitting on his wheel as my rider was up the road, and that meant that I didn't have to do anything. Rick comes alongside me here to start to control the front of the race, since even though Simon didn't want his brake to stick, it kind of looks like it actually might. This is really early in the race for a breakaway to stay away, especially on this course. A few riders begin to see what we're doing, and because there is a preem for this lap as well, they attack to bridge or bring back the current breakaway. Once a few riders have gone, I can see that I can steal the draft and stay with the lead riders, and I do so. We're rounding back into a pretty good tailwind here, so I know that I can just recover by staying in the draft. As we do round this corner, we manage to catch the breakaway, and you'll see Simon get swallowed up by the group. I'm trying to stay towards the front here, because I'd like to try and go for the preem, and I figure that will help ease the sting of getting shelled later in the race. But as I get further up into the pack, I see there's already a group of 4 riders up the road. As we cross the line, with no preem in sight, I start to do some math with who is in that breakaway. The Burnham rider in front of me has 2 teammates in it, and another team, Bicycle Heaven, has one of their faster riders in it as well. There is a solo rider, Kyle, and that makes a group of 4. I figure that it's as good a chance as any for that group to stay away, even though we're only about 10 minutes into the race, and I attack, hoping to bridge up to the riders. I'm lucky enough to have the wind at my back for the initial part of the attack, which I felt helped a ton, especially since I think these riders I was trying to bridge up to had sat up slightly to recover after sprinting for the preem. After what feels like forever, I finally manage to bridge up to them, and almost immediately I have to close the gap again when Kyle doesn't hop in front of me like I expected him to. At this point, you can see my heart rate is pinned and I'm hurting, but I know that I have to help this break if I want it to stick. We're just coming across the line for this initial lap in the break, and you can see that we're all just rotating through and working together to get established. As I came through the finish line, I could hear my wife and son, as well as the rest of my team, cheering their heads off. Unfortunately, right after we came across, I was really dying and needed to recover a bit. The group was kind enough to let me sit at the back for a few rotations, and as we round the 180, I'm feeling much better now that my heart doesn't feel like it's going to explode out of my chest. The rider in green, Pete, and the rider in blue, Kyle, later told me that they thought I did a ton more work than I needed to during the race, and that I should probably have sat in more. With about 20 minutes left in the race, some of us are starting to feel pretty gassed. Kyle looks around for the 2 riders behind me to pull through, and they don't. So I tell him to wait for a minute, and then I pull through. We're still moving at a pretty decent pace, and thanks to the work of all of our teammates, we've got about 45 seconds on the field. With only about 15 minutes till we're done, we come through the 180 and I'm really hurting. Pete puts in a small effort and I'm just not able to keep the gap closed. He starts to get further and further away while I'm just sitting there waiting for the other riders to come around so I can try and grab a draft. When they do end up coming around, it's a bit more effort than I'm expecting and I just can't match the acceleration. Those 3 riders end up getting away and myself and the second Burnham rider are left in no man's land between the break and the field. At this point, I really just don't want to get caught. The Burnham rider and I are still away with 1 lap to go, but we can feel the group breathing down our neck. They can see us and we can see them inching closer and closer to us. I was putting every ounce of effort I had into staying away at this point. I wasn't about to work for 50 minutes only to get caught in the last 10 seconds. I asked the Burnham rider to pull until the 180 and tell him I'll put in a good effort through the back half of the course to get us to stay away. As we come around the turn, you can see the field on the left-hand side, spread out and chasing us with all of their firepower up front. As the Burnham rider pulls through again, I'm just giving him mad kudos at this point, telling him that we just have to hold on and trying to encourage him to work just as hard as me. But I'm super gassed, and every dig that I take is making me go just a little bit slower. I sit on his wheel, trying to get in the draft, but really just trying to keep my bike upright and keep my feet moving at this point. As we come up through the roundabout for the last time during the race, the field is maybe 15 to 20 seconds behind us, and that's all the motivation I need to dig one last time on the front to deliver me and my breakaway partner to the finish. As we get near the 200 meter mark and I look back, I can see that we're going to manage to just barely stay away, and I have nothing left. The Burnham rider jumps and I let him go, absolutely dead. But I managed to roll into the finish for 5th place, and the only riders ahead of me that were in the break were Category 1-2 riders. I was ecstatic not only to read the breakaway correctly in this race, but be able to bridge up to them and manage to stay away, even if it was only for 5th place. This race had some absolute powerhouses in it, and I did not expect to finish well, let alone get in the break. Thanks guys, and if you liked the video, make sure to click the thumbs up button, and if you want to see more from me, click subscribe.